Welcome back to Chat Like a Native. So if you're an intermediate English learner, you probably know this feeling, right? You've gone through the grammar books, maybe you understand podcasts like this one pretty well. But then when it's actually your turn to speak, it feels like your brain just hits the brakes.
Yeah.
You get stuck, like manually translating every single thought before you can say anything.
That's it, exactly. That's the intermediate plateau. And it is so frustrating. You have the words, you have the grammar, but you just don't have that automaticity, that ability to, think and speak without that constant internal translation running.
Right, and that is precisely what we are tackling today. We're not just throwing out random study tips here.
No.
We're presenting a system, a reliable one, actually. 3 short, repeatable brain switch scenes that you can build right into your day.
The idea is to build that English fluency, like on demand.
Exactly. We're going to give you, hopefully, a bit of a shortcut to getting faster, more consistent results by weaving these little high-impact moments into your morning, your commute, your evening.
And it's about getting that retrieval speed up. The ability to pull out the language you need when you need it quickly. The system gives you structure so you don't have to rely on willpower, which, let's face it, runs out.
Okay, let's dig into the core of this system then. The source calls it the brain switch formula: cue, action, and reward. Why is this specific 3-part loop so important for language learning?
Well, it's all about habit formation, really. You have to take the decision-making out of it. The practice needs to be triggered by a reliable cue, something you already do every single day, like without even thinking about it.
Like making coffee.
Exactly. Turning on the kettle, opening your laptop, maybe starting the car for your commute, something solid. That cue just automatically starts the habit.
So the environment pulls you in, not just your motivation, which can be flaky,
Okay.
and the action. You said it has to be brief, like maybe 90 seconds of focused self-talk. Why so short?
Because if it feels too big, like a huge task, your brain just flags it as work. And then you need tons of willpower.
Right, you'll just skip it.
Yeah. So a small, really specific action makes it easy to be consistent. And consistency is what locks it in. That and the immediate reward.
What kind of reward are we talking about?
Oh, super simple.
Yeah.
It could just be like a little mental pat on the back, hey, I did it, or ticking off a box on a tracker, maybe even just taking a deep, satisfying breath. That reward signals to your brain, hey, that felt good. Let's do that again.
Okay, so habit built. Now, what about the practice during those 90 seconds? The source talks about a 2-speed rule. That sounds important, like the real engine here.
It really is.
Yeah.
Because we're not just, talking. We're using contrast training. You start with slow speed.
Slow.
Yeah, focusing just on single words or short phrases, maybe simple sentences. This is where you build correctness. You're retrieving vocabulary accurately, but keeping the anxiety really low.
Okay, makes sense. Get the foundation right first.
Exactly. And then you make the switch. You flip to fast speed.
Oh, yeah.
This continuous speech, maybe for 30 seconds, maybe up to 90. And here, the goal is flow. Speed over perfect grammar.
So what's that fast phase actually training? It's not just talking faster, is it?
No, it's training your brain to stop that word-for-word translation. It's training you to start chunking.
Chunking?
Yeah, using common phrases, sentence starters, those blocks of language as single units. When you push for speed, that inner translator just can't keep up.
So you're forced to rely on the phrases you already know automatically.
Yeah. And switching back and forth between that slow, careful retrieval and the fast, flow-focused production, that's the real neurological workout.
Got it. Now, to stop us from just, burning out or getting totally overwhelmed, there's the ceiling and floor idea.
Yes, absolutely crucial. The floor is your absolute bare minimum commitment. Let's say 30 seconds. You might feel tired, you might be busy, but you always hit the floor. No 0 days.
So consistency is baked in, even on bad days.
Right. And the ceiling is the maximum time limit, usually like 3 to 5 minutes tops. This stops you from overdoing it because overpracticing leads to fatigue, and that just kills motivation. We want quality, short bursts you can repeat daily, not exhaustion.
Okay, practical limits. Now, let's hit the big fear for intermediate speakers. Freezing. You have this complex idea in your head in your native language, and the English just isn't there. Panic sets in. How does this system deal with that moment?
Right, the no panic safety valve. The big mistake is trying to fight that freeze. Instead, you actually allow yourself a very brief moment like 5 seconds max, to think the core idea in your native language, your L1, just to clarify for yourself.
Okay, wait. 5 seconds in L1, won't that just pull you back into translating everything?
That's the clever part. It acts as a quick unblocker. But the key rule is you immediately pivot back to English and you paraphrase that idea simply. You don't try to translate the complex L1 thought directly.
Ah, okay. So you use L1 just to grasp the core meaning, then express it in simple English.
Exactly. So like the example in the source, if your L1 thought is something complex, maybe like the Somali phrase waksan rabah in an famo sababta sogdu yukakte,
Right.
which is, grammatically complex.
Right.
The safety valve that you quickly think that, get the essence, and then you immediately switch to simple English. I want to understand why the numbers jumped. See? Much simpler. It keeps you moving, keeps the momentum in English.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, we've got the ground rules, the speeds, the limits, the panic button. Let's see it work. Walk us through the 3 daily scenes, starting with scene 1.
Right. Scene 1, the morning micro-monologue. This one's all about planning language, thinking about priorities, making predictions, stating intentions, and the cue. Super simple. You first sip of coffee or tea.
Okay, I take a sip. What happens next?
You start really gently. First, just 20 or 30 seconds, a single word scan. Look around, name things in English: mug, window, laptop, calendar, traffic. Just waking up that vocabulary retrieval. No sentences needed yet.
Okay, single words. Got it. Then,
Maybe 30 to 45 seconds of short phrases. Add a little detail. Warm mug. Busy schedule today. That upcoming deadline. Still simple.
right, building slowly. And this leads into the main part, the micro-monologue.
Yes. Now, you talk for, say, 60 to 90 seconds, planning out your next hour or two. But don't just list things. Describe them a bit. You're mentally rehearsing. Okay, first I need to finalize those emails to the client. Then I have to double-check the key numbers for the presentation slides. After that, confirm the meeting time.
Okay, like a mental walkthrough. And the last step, you said it was high value.
Yes, the prediction and intention step. This is brilliant for professional English because it forces you into conditional and future language. Like, okay, I predict the manager will ask about the budget overshoot. That's the prediction. If she does, my intention is to have the summary ready and ask for clarification on next steps.
Ah, so you're preparing for possibilities. What if your brain just feels fuzzy in the morning? You can't find the right word. You mentioned placeholders.
Yeah, this is a great little trick. If you get stuck on a specific noun, just use a simple placeholder like thing, task, part. Keep the sentence flowing. So you might say, okay, I need to finish that. The quarterly report. You bought yourself a second, kept the rhythm, and only had to retrieve one specific phrase at the end.
Nice. And key phrases for this morning scene might be like,
Things like top priority today is, or my main goal is, and for the prediction part, if X happens, I'll, or I anticipate Y, so I plan to.
Okay. Scene 1 down. Moving on to scene 2. The commute or walk shadow chain, this one shifts the focus, right? More towards interaction language.
Exactly. Things like making requests, clarifying information, and getting that natural spoken rhythm. And the cue is usually starting your commute, stepping outside, starting the car, opening your transit app.
So how does this one start?
Again, gently. Start with maybe 45 to 60 seconds of just simple observation. Describe what you see, what you hear in English. Blue bus turning left. Hear some birds. The air feels cool this morning. Simple present tense stuff.
Just grounding yourself in English again. And then comes shadowing. Okay, for listeners who haven't tried this, you basically play a short English audio clip news, a podcast bit, and try to speak along with the speaker, right? Matching their rhythm and intonation.
Yes. And why is this better than just listening? Because you're actively training your mouth muscles, your articulation. You're forcing yourself to produce the sounds. And importantly, the melody of English, which might be very different from your first language.
It sounds challenging. What if you can't keep up?
Totally normal. The advice is, if it's too hard, maybe shadow every second sentence. But the absolute main rule is, don't stop. If you miss a word, just keep the sound going. Keep mimicking the rhythm. It's about the flow, not perfect repetition.
Okay, focus on the music, not every single note. I get it. But shadowing is mimicking. How does that lead to producing your own interaction language?
Good question. After the shadowing burst, you immediately switch to a mini dialogue. You invent a short conversation in your head, maybe about a real task you have coming up.
Yeah, what?
Like you could practice clarifying something. Okay, do I need to ask Sarah if she wants the full data breakdown or just the summary for the meeting? You're rehearsing asking functional questions, using phrases like, quick question about, or just to confirm, do you prefer A or B? It makes those interactions smoother later on.
Right. But the big hurdle here for many people is talking to themselves in public. It feels, well, kind of weird.
Absolutely. It can feel really awkward. The best workaround is silent shadowing.
Silent shadowing.
Yeah, you just move your lips along with the audio or maybe whisper very quietly. Or even better, put in earbuds, maybe hold your phone like you're on a call or listen to a voice note. Nobody knows you're practicing.
Ah, clever. So you look normal, but you're still getting the benefit.
Exactly. You're still building that muscle memory, engaging the brain, but without the social anxiety.
Smart. Okay, that covers the commute. Let's move to the final scene. The evening debrief and prediction. Focus here is reflection language.
That's right. Looking back, lessons learned, thinking about next steps, and the cue is often something that signals the end of the workday, like putting your phone on its charger for the night.
Okay, phone's charging. What's the first step?
This is really powerful for improvement. The 3 gains, 1 fix exercise. For maybe 60-90 seconds, you mentally list 3 things that went well in your English communication that day. Small wins count. And then, crucially, you identify one specific thing you want to improve tomorrow.
So not just general, I need to improve grammar, but something specific. Give me an example of a fix.
Okay, maybe you noticed in a meeting you tended to ramble. Your fix could be, today I talked a bit too long. Tomorrow, in the team meeting, I will practice pausing for 2 seconds before I answer, and I'll aim for shorter, clearer sentences. See? It's concrete, problem identified, specific action plan for tomorrow.
I like that. Active improvement. What's next in the evening routine?
The micro-story. This builds your narrative skills, which are super useful professionally. You tell a tiny 4-sentence story about one thing that happened during your day.
4 sentences. What's the structure?
Simple. Setup, problem, action, result, like a mini anecdote. Setup. We were reviewing the project plan this afternoon. Problem. Suddenly we realized the deadline was actually moved up by a week. Action. I quickly checked the shared calendar and confirmed the new date with the client. Result. We adjusted our immediate tasks and avoided missing the new deadline. Tiny story, but it practices sequencing and past tense.
Okay, quick little narrative. And like the morning scene, you follow this with?
A fast mode repeat. You tell that same 4-sentence story again, but faster.
Why the repeat?
The first telling is about retrieving the details and structure. The fast repeat is pure fluency practice. It helps make that whole story chunk the sequence, the vocabulary, much more automatic for the next time you need to share a quick update or anecdote.
Makes sense. What about that inner critic, though? Especially in the evening, reviewing your day, it's easy to start judging your grammar mistakes, right? Falling back into perfectionism.
Yeah, that's a big trap. The rule for the evening scene is evaluate for clarity, not grammatical perfection. Ask yourself, was the main point of my story clear? Would someone have understood what happened? If the answer is no, don't beat yourself up. Just try telling it again, maybe using simpler words or shorter sentences.
Focus on communication, not perfection.
Exactly. And use those debrief phrases to guide you, like, what worked well today was. Or, the key takeaway for tomorrow is, keep it positive and forward-looking.
Okay, we have the 3 scenes, the system's logic, but you mentioned tools and strategies to make it stick. Part 5. Tools and troubleshooting.
Right. These are like little boosters. First, a timer app. Essential. Set it for short blocks, 90 seconds, 3 minutes, whatever. It keeps you focused and respects the ceiling rule. Short bursts beat long, draining sessions every time.
Good tip. What else?
Phrase cards. But these aren't just single vocabulary words. They're high-utility chunks.
Like conversational building blocks.
Exactly. Phrases like, from my perspective, or could you clarify what you mean by, or here's the quick summary. You pick maybe 10 or 15 useful ones.
And what do you do with them?
You actively try to weave them into all 3 practice scenes for a week or 2. Morning planning, commute dialogue, evening reflection. It forces them into your active, automatic vocabulary.
I like that. Active integration. Any other simple tools?
One more easy one. The environment tweak. Label, like 3 random objects in your house. The microwave, a lamp, a plant pot with their English names on sticky notes. Change them every week.
Why does that help?
It just keeps your environment slightly English-infused.
Yeah.
It forces tiny moments of English thinking without any real effort. Subtle, but effective over time.
Okay, cool. Now let's tackle common problems. What if you keep making the same annoying grammar mistake over and over?
Yes. For that, you build a swap. First, you identify the specific error. You always say, it depends on the situation. You know that's wrong.
Right. Common one.
So you identify the correct version. It depends on the situation.
Yeah.
That's your swap. Write it.
Okay, have I swap? How do I drill it in?
For one whole week, you deliberately insert that correct phrase depends on into all three of your daily practice scenes: morning, commute, evening. You consciously overuse it.
You flood your brain with the correct version.
Exactly. Repetition builds the new pathway and helps override the old, incorrect habit. It's targeted practice.
Very focused. What about the motivation killer? Skipping days? Life gets busy, you miss a session.
If that happens, the first step is
Yeah.
lower the floor. Seriously. Take it down to 30 seconds if you have to. Make it ridiculously easy to do. And second, double-check your cue. Is it truly automatic? Attach the practice to something you absolutely never skip: brushing your teeth, picking up your keys, plugging in your phone. Make the link unavoidable.
Consistency over intensity, always. Okay, and finally, the upgrade rule. How do you make progress without just getting overwhelmed?
Slowly. You only change one thing per week, just one variable. Maybe you add 30 seconds to each scene, or you try shadowing a slightly faster audio clip, or you try to use slightly more complex sentences in your monologues.
But not all three at once.
Definitely not. One small adjustment per week. That lets your brain adapt without feeling overloaded, and it protects those habits you've worked hard to build.
That sounds manageable. And to keep track of all this and stay motivated, there's the scorecard.
Yeah, super simple, just a basic 7-day grid. Each day, for each scene, morning, commute, evening, you just mark if you hit your floor time, your standard practice time, or maybe even stretch your ceiling.
So it makes progress visible.
Exactly. Fluency growth can feel slow and invisible day to day. The scorecard gives you concrete proof. Look, I showed up. I did the work. It turns that subjective feeling into objective little wins, and that really fuels your motivation for the next week.
Okay, so let's bring it all together. The power of this system seems to be installing these three high-impact brain switch moments tied to really useful language functions.
Yeah. Morning is for planning and prediction. The commute is for interaction and rhythm, and the evening is for reflection and learning.
And the key is you don't have to stress about trying to think in English all day long, which is exhausting.
Absolutely not. You just need these three short, predictable, pretty intense bursts of exposure. They cycle you through the core functions of the language efficiently in just a few minutes a day. That's how you build real-world speaking capacity.
And the ultimate payoff, the thing everyone's chasing with this, is that moment of automaticity.
That's the goal.
So the encouragement is start tomorrow. Pick just one scene, maybe the morning one with your coffee. Commit to the floor, even just 30 seconds. And the promise is, in a few weeks, you'll start to notice it. That feeling when your mouth starts moving before your inner translator even wakes up, that's it. That's the switch.